Strong but Quirky, The Birth of Davy Crockett. Retold by Erwin Shapiro. Davy Crockett, pathfinder, explorer, and United States Congressman, was always up to something or other, right from the start. The morning Davy Crockett was born, Davy's pa came busting out of his cabin in Tennessee alongside the Nolichucky River. He fired 3 shots into the air, gave a whoop, and said, "I've got me a son. His name is Davy Crockett, and he'll be the greatest hunter in all creation." When he said that, the sun rose up in the sky like a ball of fire. The wind howled uproariously. Thunder boomed, and all the critters and varmints of the forest let out a moan. Then Davy's pa went back into the cabin. Little Davy was stretched out in a cradle made of a snapping turtle's shell. There was a pair of elk horns over the top, and over the elk horns was the skin of a wildcat. The cradle was run by water power, and it was rocking away. Rockety-wump, rockety-wump. Now all the Crocketts were big, but Davy was big even for a Crockett. He weighed 200 pounds, 14 ounces, and he was as frisky as a wildcat. His ma and his Aunt Katina stood over Davy, trying to get him to sleep. "Sing something to quiet the boy," said Aunt Katina to his Uncle Rorius, who was standing in a corner combing his hair with a rake. Uncle Rorius opened his mouth and sang a bit of Over the River to Charlie. That is, it was meant for singing. It sounded worse than a nor'easter howling across a country barn at midnight. Said Uncle Rorius. He reached for a jug and took a sip of kerosene oil to loosen up his pipes. Davy was sitting up in his cradle. He kept his peepers on his uncle, watching him pull at the jug. "I'll have a sip of the same," said Davy, as loud as you please. The kerosene jug slipped right out of Uncle Rorius's hand. Davy's ma and his Aunt Katina let out a shriek. "Why, the little shaver can talk," said Davy's pa. "Well," said Davy, talking slow and easy like, "maybe I don't jabber good enough to make a speech in Congress, but I reckon I got the hang of her. It's nothing to Davy Crockett." "That's mighty big talk, son," said Davy's pa. "It ought to be," said Davy. "It's comin' from a big man." And with that he leapt out of his cradle, kicked his heels together, and crowed like a rooster. He flapped his arms, and he bellowed, "I'm Davy Crockett, fresh from the backwoods. I'm half horse, half alligator, with a little touch of snapping turtle. I can wade the Mississippi, ride a streak of lightning, hug a bear too close for comfort, and whip my weight in wildcats. I can out-eat, out-sleep, out-fight, out-shoot, out-run, out-jump, and out-squat any man in these here United States. And I will." Aunt Katina eyed him as if he was a little bit of a mosquito making a buzz. "That'll be enough of your sass," said she, kind of sharp-like. "Now get back into your cradle and behave." "Yes, ma'am," said Davy. He was always polite to the ladies. "No such thing," said Uncle Rorius. "Settin' in the cradle won't grow him none. We've got to plant him in the earth and water him with wild buffalo's milk, with boiled corn cobs and tobacco leaves mixed in." "Can't do any harm," said Davy's ma. "Might do good," said Davy's pa. "Suits me," said Davy. "Let's give her a try." So they took Davy out to Thunder Shower Hill and planted him in the earth. They watered him with wild buffalo's milk, with boiled corn cobs and tobacco leaves mixed in. The sun shone on him by day, and the moon beamed down on him by night. The wind cooled him, and the rain freshened him, and Davy Crockett began to grow proper. One morning Davy's pa got up as usual and looked out the window. Instead of the sun shining, it was like a cloudy night with fog and no moon. Davy's pa had never seen it so dark in all his born days. "Hurricane's comin' up," he said to Uncle Rorius, who was standing in a corner buttoning up his cast-iron shirt. "We'd better water Davy before she breaks," said Uncle Rorius. Davy's pa and Uncle Rorius each picked up a barrel of wild buffalo's milk, with boiled corn cobs and tobacco leaves mixed in. Davy's ma and Aunt Katina followed along, carrying another barrel between them. But when they got outside, there wasn't a sign of a hurricane. There wasn't a hurricane coming up, going down, or standing still. There wasn't any hurricane at all. The sky was blue with little white clouds, and the sun was shining just as pretty. Only reason it was so dark was that Davy's shadow was falling over the cabin. Davy must have growed some, said Davy's ma, and they all hurried over to Thunder Shower Hill. Davy was standing on tiptoe with his head poked through a cloud. He was taller than the tallest tree and a sight friskier. Uncle Rorius let out a yip, and Davy leaned down. Davy wiped a bit of cloud out of his eye and said, I've been looking over the country. She's right pretty, and I think I'm going to like her. You'd better, said Aunt Katina, kinda snappy-like. She's the only one you've got. Yes, ma'am, roared out Davy. His voice was so loud it started an avalanche at Wangdoodle Knob, 30 miles away. The trees all around flattened out, and Aunt Katina, Uncle Rorius, and Davy's ma and pa fell over from the force of it. Davy's pa picked himself up and shook his head. He's too big, he said. Oh, I don't know, said Uncle Rorius. He'll settle some. No, said Davy's pa. He's too big for a hunter. It wouldn't be fair and square. What are we going to do? Asked Uncle Rorius. Only one thing to do, said Davy's pa. We've got to uproot him and let him grow down to man size. So Davy's ma and pa, his Aunt Katina, and his Uncle Rorius uprooted Davy. Soon as his feet were free, Davy leapt high into the air. He kicked his heels together, flapped his arms, and he bellowed, Look out, all you critters and varmints of the forest, for here comes Davy Crockett, fresh from the backwoods. I'm half horse, half alligator, with a little touch of snapping turtle. I can run faster, jump higher, squat lower, dive deeper, stay underwater longer, and come up drier than any man in these here United States. Whoop! Uncle Rorius listened to Davy and he looked at Davy. Then he said, He's strong, but he's quirky. Davy's pa looked at Davy and he listened to Davy. He'll do, he said. He'll do for a Crockett till a better one comes along. And when Davy's pa said that, lightning flashed and thunder boomed. The wind howled uproariously, and all the critters and varmints of the forest let out a moan.